Good morning, good afternoon, good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is John Nordstrom. I'm one of the managers of the PSCAD development team, and I'm very excited to present PSCAD version 5 to you on this relatively balmy Winnipeg winter morning at about minus 25 degrees Celsius. We think that this is one of, if not the best versions of PSCAD that we've ever produced. So we're all quite excited about it in the development team. This webinar is the first in a series of 4. What its intention is to outline all that is included in PSCAD version 5 product release, including new features, tools, and purchase options. There are about 20 new features in PSCAD, around 30 enhancements to existing functionalities, and about 30 master library models, new master library models. So I won't be able to discuss everything in detail over an hour. So I'll focus on the items that are probably most important to you to get you started smoothly in using version 5. So the goal here is to orientate you to the help resources, including the videos and other documentation that we have online, so you can investigate on your own time after the webinar is done and in the coming days. Some of our experts will be manning the chat window during this webinar broadcast, so feel free to ask questions during the presentation. We've got quite a lot of registrants, so hopefully they can get to all of your questions if there are a lot. And I'll provide my contact information or basically where you can contact after the webinar. You can send me questions via email, and I'll try to get to them and answer them personally for you. Okay, so the times they've been a-changing in our industry over the past 10, 15 years. Things have really started to move fast. The advent of renewables and their reliance on power electronics and complex controllers has increased the importance of EMT studies. We at PSCAD, we've seen our users' study cases grow in size to what 20 years ago would have seemed to be astronomical in size, actually. And PSCAD is no longer used as it was 20, 25 years ago for investigating occurrences on small localized areas. So our philosophy here with version 5, listening to our customers, is to focus on functionality that supports large systems. So that includes efficiency of use, modifying our features so that they are more geared towards larger amounts of data. Simulation speed, we've moved into parallel processing, and we're working hard on algorithmic enhancements to EMTDC to make it faster. Let's take a quick look at PSCAD here. All right. So you'll see the first thing that you should notice, is there anything different aside from the colors? No, not really. That was on purpose. We tried to keep PSCAD looking and feeling the same as the version 4, just to help with users in their migration process. So the majority of menu items and buttons and those sort of things are all in the same place, so you don't have to go looking around for things. There are a couple things I'd like to show you right now that are quite a bit different than version 4. One of them is up in the top left corner under the File tab here in the ribbon. This whole area here is brand new. It's kind of closer to what you would see in a Microsoft application, possibly, but it has all of this is where it opens by default here, where you open projects and libraries and workspaces and things like that. So you'll notice that we have a few icons listed here. You can easily access the examples that comes with the PSCAD release. You can open your files by clicking this icon. And we also are maintaining a list of recent files. So we have cases, libraries, workspaces, and even folders for looking at, previously, you may have your files all over your computer or whatever. So, your frequently used folders, you can just come in and double click and go straight to those. To create a new case, just click on the new up in the top left corner. And this is the area where you can now create cases and libraries and workspaces. This just a simple double click on the new case, new library, or new workspace will create a new one for you. The name for your new case or file is right here, so you can preset that under its namespace name there. And you can also pre-select the folder where you want it to go down here. And once again, we keep a list of recent folders for you for convenience. Also, I'd like the save as, and all that functionalities here, but that's in the main application, so you don't really need to use those. Print functions are here, and the application options, that's just a little bit more important because you'll be probably accessing those a little bit. They are here as well. We'll move out of there. Over in the top right corner, all of the licensing options and settings and controls are all right up here in the toolbar. So all your certificate information, if you want to view any of the your licensing information, that sort of thing, options, they're all here all encapsulated in a single menu. All right, so moving on, the PSCAD version 5 package is going to be offered under two purchasing options. One is a standalone PSCAD, which is obviously just PSCAD itself. And there's an enhanced package, which includes 3 additional modules with PSCAD. One is Enterplot, which I'm sure you're all familiar with by now. It's been out for a couple of years. There's also PRSIM and the PSCAD Initializer. Both of these applications are used to help you initialize your PSCAD simulations from a powerflow. You can contact our sales team for pricing information on those. The email is down in the bottom left corner there. Okay, so Enterplot, as I mentioned, it's a post-processing tool. It is used basically, obviously post-processing, post-simulation. It's already set up with automated scripting and an embedded Python interface, which includes recording. So it does a lot of nice things in the post-processing environment for you to help you efficiently analyze your data. It includes a powerful embedded math parser. There's fast Fourier transform analysis tools, and you can template your projects so that you can start new ones very quickly. And it's also very good at loading very large data files very quickly. So if you want to find out more about Enterplot, take a look at our YouTube channel. The link is down there. We have a 5-minute video, and there's also a full 50-minute webinar that was done, I think, about 1.5 years ago or so. All right. The brand new application that's being offered with PSCAD version 5, what we call PRSIM, kind of short for Power System Importer. What this program allows you to do is load in create basically a PRSIM case or PRSIM project from a PSSE or Power Factory data file, and then convert that project after you've expanded it out and decided which buses you want to look at, directly into a PSCAD version 5 or version 4.6 version case of PSCAD case. It has the ability to import dynamic sequence and location data. It has a powerful network equivalent tool, so any of the network that you are not wanting to take a really specific look at will get collapsed into a network equivalent for you automatically. You can also reinitialize your previously generated PSCAD projects. The PSCAD Initializer is a slightly different initialization tool. Here, you're starting with a pre-configured structured PSCAD project, which has to conform to some rules. And from the initializer, you can launch a powerflow. We have our own light powerflow tool that's connected with it, but also you can use PSSE. And what it will do is it will take your PSCAD case, create a powerflow file, solve it, and then use the solved data to overwrite the parameters of the sources and things like that in your project, so that you can launch your PSCAD case from an initialized state. Both PRSIM and PSCAD Initializer are going to be discussed in a webinar next week, next Wednesday, in detail. So please, if you're interested in that, please join in and have a look. So I'm just going to give you a quick, really quick demo of PRSIM just to show you how nice it is. So I have a new PRSIM case created here already. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to load some raw file data. So I'll go to my webinar here. We have an IEEE 96 raw file. I'll import that in. So you'll see it appear in database format in the network table pane in PRSIM. You can see the entire file, all 96 buses. So from here, I'm going to decide that I want to look in and around bus number 104. So I'm going to create that bus, plunk it down on the page here, and maybe expand it out a little bit, couple buses backwards, move some things around. I'll just zoom out a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. So here we have the system that I imported out, brought in out of that file. These buses here that still have the plus sign on them, these are the boundary buses that can still be expandable, but I'm not really interested in that. I'm good with it as it is right now. So in order for me to convert this into an actual PSCAD case that can be loaded into PSCAD and run, all I have to do is press the Export Network button. There are some options here. I'll just make sure that NetEQ is enabled, and it is. I'll press OK, and it generates a PSCAD case for me. I'll zoom out a little bit. So this case, although it's loaded in PRSIM, can now be loaded up in PSCAD and launched. You'll see the network equivalent here up in the top left corner. These node labels here are connected to the boundary buses on the outside. And if I go inside, you'll see that it's already constructed a nice network equivalent for me. So that's a really simple demo of PRSIM. Like I said, they're going to be doing a much more detailed webinar next week. So please attend if you're interested in that. Okay, so in terms of customer resources, I'm sure you're all familiar with our website. On the website, there is a knowledge base. The knowledge base keeps getting bigger all the time. It's a searchable environment. It contains engineering application examples, installations and licensing guides, everything that we determine that customers need through dealing with you on support. We try to get these documents in there for everyone. We also have a YouTube channel, currently has over 80 videos on it. These range from, we have many pre-recorded webinars on there, and Right now, there's already about 20 new PSCAD version 5 feature videos, which I'm going to be leaning on quite a bit here. I'm not going to be playing them in this webinar, but each of the new models and the new features, not the new models, but the new features in PSCAD, each have a 5-minute video that you can go and watch that demos how to use that feature. So have a look at those after the webinar is over. There's a PSCAD application help is also on the website under support resources. This is the actual PSCAD version 5 application help. So you can access that online and have a look at all of the stuff that's inside, fully documented inside PSCAD. Of course, if you have any questions for us, the support services desk is always there, and everyone is waiting for your questions and loves to answer all kinds of support. The My Center portal, there's the link for it there. On the portal, you can find a Q&A forum. If you have questions, you can get on there and ask other users questions and get answers. There's on there, there's a link to the PSCAD free edition, which is a restricted edition for you to just test drive the software. Currently, we don't have the PSCAD version 5 free up yet. That will be another couple of weeks before it's there. However, the version 4 one is still there. We also offer trial licenses for more serious users. The trial licenses for version 5 as well are not currently ready. Our sales department is just beginning the process of distributing the PSCAD version 5 out this week. So we're going to be giving precedence to the active software maintenance customers, and then we'll be getting to just about everybody else in the weeks to come after that. Hopefully we'll be all done by beginning of March. The beta testing programs, they've been around for years. They're still there. If you are wanting to try out features that we are creating before they get released, please contact us and let us know if you're interested in joining the beta testing program. You have to be an active software maintenance client in order for you to participate in that. All right, so I'm going to get on to some EMTDC enhancements. Once again, I'm going to go through this pretty quick because in about, I think March 3rd, I believe, we're going to do a webinar that's purely on EMTDC enhancements and master library models. So I'm just going to breeze through here just to tell you what we're working on and what's available in version 5. So the EMTDC team has been working hard on improving the algorithm itself to make it faster. And 2 of those improvements have made it into the PSCAD version 5 release. The first is a modified augmented nodal analysis algorithm. This helps mitigate problems with the classical nodal analysis and allows us to represent dependent sources. We've added 4 of these sources to the master library for the version 5 release. We've also added a KLU sparsity algorithm. This is used specifically for very large matrices. The default setting is 200 nodes, as you can see down in the bottom right corner there, that you can turn the sparse algorithm on and off, and the default is set to about 200 node size. So anything larger than that, the sparsity algorithm will be imposed. From what the experts are telling me, it works best for very large matrices that are mainly passive and don't include a lot of switching devices, although it does tend to speed up just about any large matrix solution. All right, in terms of models, we've added a MMC Model Library. This includes full and half bridge cells that use Thevenin equivalent circuits. This significantly increases the computation efficiency. And we've also added a collection of of components that go along with those to help control the bridge cells. In terms of machines, we've added a single-phase induction machine. There's also a library of Z-domain controls. These are the most popular ones, I believe, so we have them in there. We just have started with these ones, possibly add more later, I don't know. In terms of transformers, we have a single-phase multi-winding ideal transformer that can be configured for 5 to 12 windings. We also have a 3 or 5 limb duality-based transformer. It can be used to model a multi-limb transformer or a bank of single-phase transformers. We've also added a hysteresis reactor to the master library as well. In terms of sources, I mentioned the dependent sources. These are the names of the 4 of them that I showed before. And we also have an ideal AC current source that's 3-phase only. All of our standard exciters that we have in the master library have been upgraded from the 1992 standard to the new IEEE 2016 standard. This includes, I think, all of the configurations that are in the standard. You can ask about that at the other webinar, I'm not really sure. In terms of loads, we've added 4 individually configurable loads in different configurations. These will help you when you're setting up, series or parallel combinations of RLC elements, just an efficiency thing. A couple electric branch models. The per unit impedance branch basically represents RLC elements, and you can enter the data as per unit impedance based on a base value. And an isolation switch. This switch is modeled as an infinite or zero impedance branch and cannot be changed during the run. Some other miscellaneous components. We've added a TRV envelope generator. This will help those doing transient recovery voltage studies. It will output the envelope itself and tell you if you're exceeding the envelope and that sort of thing. There's also a harmonic signal generator. You can enter in a defined list of harmonics of varying magnitude and phases, and it will produce a signal for you. And then there's also a collection of miscellaneous, smaller, I don't want to say lesser components that people have been asking for that we've also added in there. So here's some more here as well. You'll notice a complex conjugate and a complex constant. I'll talk about that in a bit, but we've added support for complex signals in version 5. In terms of model enhancements, we've added the complex signal support to multiple CSMF components, as I had mentioned, because we can now pass those signals around through wires. And at the same time, we've also added array signal support to many of the CSMF blocks. The multiple run additional recording component now has a statistical summary to the output file. The FFT is getting ever bigger. I think it was only at 32, array of 32 output when I started at the center in 1998, and now it's up to about 1023. So it's getting bigger and bigger all the time. The saturable reactor, you can now enter data represented as a BH curve. Permanent magnet machine has a neutral point winding, or neutral point connection. And the mutually coupled wires have been updated to provide the ability to model a zero impedance transmission line. Okay, so that's it for EMTDC and the master library models. Now we'll get to the new PSCAD features and enhanced functionalities. Like I said before, there's a lot of new stuff in PSCAD, so I can't, if I was to demo it here, we'd be here for 3 hours, and I don't think everybody wants to sit here listening to me for 3 hours. So What I'll do is in each one of the features, it'll have a link, or it'll point you towards a specific video in our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in finding out more about a specific feature, just go and have a look. And I'll also do a little bit of a demo near the end here, just for the more important things that you're going to need to know when you're first migrating into PSCAD. Okay, so before I start with that, though, let's talk about some important migration considerations, because it's probably about 90+% of us are going to be migrating from version 4 into version 5. So here are the details with that. PSCAD version 5 is fully forward compatible with all version 4 versions. We would prefer to use 4.6.3, of course. That would probably minimize any possible issues that there could be, but we also support all of the X4 versions from 4.3 onwards, and it will even import the older style 4.2.1 projects. When you import a case into version 5, it will create a new case for you, so you don't have to worry about possible corruption of your old case or something like that. It's just a safety mechanism to make sure that we don't touch the old file. We just create a brand new one for you. In terms of backwards compatibility, version 5 is mostly backwards compatible. There's actually a save as 4.6 function, so you can save any version 5 case back to a 4.6 format. However, with that in mind, I said mostly, and mostly means that there are going to be some new features in version 5 that aren't supported in 4.6, so obviously we can't save them back. A few of these are a jumbo-sized canvas. We have a huge canvas size in PSCAD now. This was a hotly requested item from many of our users who are just running out of space, even with the extra large canvas. So now we have the jumbo one, and we'll see if anybody can hit the limits of that. I'm sure they will. There's the complex signals as well. That's not supported in 4.6, obviously. And we have a quick enable disable function as well that's not supported there. So if you use any of those 3 features, you will block yourself from being able to go backwards. So if you're just going to use version 5 to run and maybe make some minor modifications in your 4.6 case, then you can freely move back and forth. In terms of Fortran compilers, we're tossing out version 4.2.1 of the G-Fortran 95 compiler and replacing it with a better version, version 4.6.2, and an even better version than that, G-Fortran 8.1, which comes in both 32 and 64-bit formats. The Intel compilers, we're removing support for versions 9 to 11 and adding versions 16 to 19. Also note, when you're migrating over the master library models, some of them have been upgraded, some of them have had bugs fixed. This could possibly affect your 4.6 simulated results slightly. So that's something that you're going to need to, it's very important to consider when you're migrating your old cases into version 5. Make sure that the results are the same. And if they're not, of course, you can call us for help, and we'll see if we can figure it out for you. Resource file handling, these are the Fortran files, compiled binaries, all that stuff. That's been completely redesigned in version 5. Don't worry, we automatically reconfigure everything. So if you have cases that have lots of attached files to them and stuff, they'll all get taken care of. And I'll show you, we call that the resources branch. I'll show you that in the demo in a little bit. And also, an important thing to consider is that the unit converter is forced enabled in version 5. We had a lot of problems in the past with people having their unit converters turned off and then inadvertently turning them on. And then, of course, if you have unit conversions and stuff in your parameters, then it can change results and that sort of thing. So we decided to just force it on all the time. You can read all about this stuff in more detail in the PSCAD web help online if you want to find out some more about it. All right, on to the features. Automation is not really all that new. It's been around for about 4 years now. We first introduced it in 4.6.1, but in version 5, it's been redesigned and it has been embedded into PSCAD. So when you install PSCAD on your machine, you automatically get the Python environment with it. So now, because it's part of PSCAD, you can maintain your scripts from within PSCAD. We've added a new scripting pane, and custom scripts may now be recorded, edited, and launched right inside of PSCAD. The recording feature is big for those of us, including me, who aren't so great at writing in programming in Python. The recording feature will, as you are moving things around and changing parameters and that sort of thing, with the record button active, it will automatically script your changes for you in the window. So that's really nice. We're also offering the standalone version of the automation libraries with PSCAD version 5 because with the embedded one, the one thing it can't do is you can't launch PSCAD from it within itself. So the standalone version will be can be used for that. There's a nice video on this feature on our YouTube channel, so have a look. I think that's the recording is demonstrated and everything in there. Blackbox upgrades. This has been a very popular function in the beta test program. We're now supporting electric networks. That doesn't include transmission lines and cables in the Blackbox. So now you can Blackbox any module that contains electric elements and control systems in the same module. The electrical nodes are all remapped to two port arrays. You can see in the diagram there on the right, to a fixed node array and a switch node array. It also constructs a branch, a transformers, and a matrix fill segment for you in the component definition script. Global substitutions, you now have two options. If you're using global substitutions in the project and you're substituting inside the page module, you have the option to hard code the present literal values, or you can tell Blackbox to create global parameters to give you access to those substitutions after the component is built. More on that, there's a video for Blackbox features on our YouTube channel. Okay, so this is what I mentioned before, external resource file handling. So sorry about the quality of this image here, but we've added a new branch underneath each one of the projects. And within that branch is where you can now add your external files. So it's not just source and binary files. You can also load Word documents, spreadsheets, images, that sort of thing. So it has a lot more flexibility. You're able to enable and disable certain files. You don't have to include them in the build if you don't want to. And we're still supporting the file reference component. If you're worried about that, you can still go ahead and use that. That operates separately from the resources branch. Another cool thing that we've added to the application options is a relative path resolution. So now you can specify specific folders where the compiler should look for your files, and that alleviates the need for you having to put in absolute paths and stuff like that. You can rely more so on relative paths. Once again, there's a video for that. There's a new binary output file format in EMTDC. It's a proprietary design, and it stores all the simulation and trace data, as well as the sequential and parallel multiple run data and animated graphics information in a single file. And because it's binary, it has a much smaller footprint than our collection of ASCII files that we've been using up to now. We now call those the legacy. You can still use that as much as you want. That's still supported. But if you want to move to the binary format, you can. Now, because that's a binary file, you obviously can't double click on it and look at it. So we have to create what we did was we created a utility that comes free with PSCAD. It's called the PSOut Reader utility. And it can be used to obviously read the PSOut files, but it also can, you can also edit the PSOut files and even export them to the older ASCII format. So you can even use it as a output file editor after the fact. We've added a co-simulation API. This is a C language structure which houses a collection of functions which the user can program on the external side to provide runtime data to PSCAD. And we have a component in the master library called the co-simulation component, which can accept that input data and send data back out to the external program. Although the API is fully documented in the application help, we would highly recommend that you get some help from us if you're going to attempt to use this, as it's a pretty low-level programming stuff, and it's depending on the external application, it's it can get quite complicated. We've added rubber banding, a special sticky wire, tri-segment wire. As you can see in the image, once you connect the wire to the component and other components, you can then grab the component, move it around, and the wires will stretch. Smart paste. The difference between what we do in version 5 and version 4 is that now the paste is smarter. In version 4, you would copy something and then you would have to tell PSCAD how to paste it. Now PSCAD knows how to paste it. So if you say, for instance, copy an output channel, if you paste it on the schematic, it will create a new instance. If you paste the output channel onto a graph, it'll create a curve, that sort of thing. So it knows what you're attempting to do. Other copy, you can copy external text and paste it directly, and it will create a sticky note for you on the canvas. Layer information is now included when everything is copied. The layer doesn't exist in the new, if say you're copying to a new case that are pasting it, the layer doesn't exist. The new layer will be created for you. Images are now copied as high resolution bitmaps, and you can control in the external file, like say Word, how you want it pasted in Word. The paste rename function, you have to select specifically, but it will automatically rename all of the source signals in your copy so that when you paste it, you don't get a bunch of source contentions when you next launch the case. We've added multiple language support to sticky notes, so you can copy any character set or type in any character set in sticky notes now. This is a very important feature for Asian and Russian customers. They've been asking for this for a while. So I hope everyone's who doesn't use the English language is very happy with this. Tandem lines, this feature has been around for quite a number of years, and basically uses a combination of multiple run and a tandem configuration in the transmission lines. So you can set up 2 lines with a fault in between them. PSCAD will automatically solve all the possible line length combinations and then launch a multiple run and mimic a sliding fault down the line. If you want to find out more about this, there's a great video on our YouTube channel that demonstrates how it's used. Overhead and underground transmission systems can be mixed in the cable editor now. We've added a new mutual earth impedance formula to help us with that. Contact support if you want to find out more about that feature. As I mentioned before, complex signals are now a thing in PSCAD. You can now pass them through ports and wires and from component to component. So we've added some new CSMF components that do some complex math. So hopefully you find that useful. High performance computing, we've added a few new features. We have a cluster launch system now that will help you to launch PSCAD on multiple workstations. The parallel multiple run feature, we've added quite a lot of new additional properties to give you more flexibility while doing a PMR. And multiple plotted data sets. If you do a PMR and you enable the tracing of all signals, you will get a list of each one of those runs, and you can freely switch between them and view all the data from the run. This will be discussed in a webinar focused on high performance computing, which will be in a couple of weeks on February the 24th. So if you're interested in that, please attend. We've enhanced the project navigation in PSCAD. We've added, I'll be demoing this in a few minutes, but we've added bookmarks, breadcrumb trail, and it's fully navigable. And you can even access web pages. There's a hyperlink a component that we've added that you can put on the page as well. Global substitutions have been completely redesigned. They now have their own pane. You can also create sets of global substitutions. So say, for instance, I had 10 substitutions defined for a particular project. I can create sets of those substitutions with different values in each set. So then you can freely using the drop list, switch back and forth between these sets of substitutions. You can store and replace any of these substitutions using CVS formatted files. So you can maintain them in Excel, for instance, or something like that. The parameter grid has become very powerful in version 5. It's not just for components anymore. It now supports transmission lines, simulation sets, buses, sticky notes, pretty much everything you can get a parameter grid for it now. Also, we've added some more filtering. You can filter parameters according to category page. If certain parameters in the instances are disabled, they will show as disabled on the screen, so you can see that. So much more powerful parameter grid. The component wizard has been redesigned. This one is much more flexible. I think easier to use. There's no more steps. You just and what's really nice about it is it saves your configurations for you during the PSCAD session. So if you create multiple components, you can go back to those components after the fact. We've added the ability to, in simulation sets, to override the project settings and the layers, which is quite powerful. So now you can adjust, you can have different project settings for different simulation sets, that sort of thing. You can attach global substitution sets to a particular simulation set. It's a lot of sets, sorry about that. So you can, as you're going through your simulation sets, you can use different global substitutions for the same project. You can enable and disable sets now, which is really nice. It's something a lot of people have been asking for. And there's a lot of new parallel run options and stuff inside. You have the ability now to create custom layers. So we have the standard enabled, disabled, and invisible, but you can also create your own configurable layer, and you can put combinations of different types in that layer. Like, for instance, on the side there, I have one here called My Settings, and you'll see that 2 of the components are disabled in it, whereas the others are enabled. I could go in and make some of them invisible or whatever, but it's a custom configuration that I can use. Gives you a little bit more flexibility when using layers. Also, our component dialogues have been enhanced. We are now using a tree view, and I'll demo this in a couple of minutes, but The category window is now tree-based, and what's really nice about that is you can add categories within categories within categories now. So it really opens up the amount of data that you can add to your component parameters. Also, there is a dynamic help window, which is a Java-based dynamic display that is associated with each component. That is also fully customizable. You can use it with your custom components, and I'll demonstrate that in a second. All right, let's switch back over to PSCAD here, and I'll start up here with the multiple run, and I'll show you the resources section. So here I've added a few different files. You can see that I have a Word document in here. If I double click on that, it will open the Word document for me. I have my Fortran file that I don't necessarily want to associate when I build this case. So I can just simply right click on this file, go in and disable it. And so now when I build the case, it won't even look at that Fortran file. So it's a great way to, keep all of the associated files within the case. You don't have to keep switching back and forth and loading this one and loading that one. Here you'll see a PSOut file that I've pre-run this multi-run. So if I double click on this, I can go back and it will display individual runs for me. So if I go in here now, I can view and go and take a look at multiple different runs. So I can switch to any one I want. They're all stored in that PSOut file. So here's the different files that you can open up. The Python scripts that I was talking about, this is also where they're stored. And then you can just pretty much put any other type of file you want in here. This is fully documented in the help. There's anything else new here? Oh yes, this copy file action, which is really nice. If you have DLL files now that need to be in the temporary folder when you launch PSCAD, you now have the ability to copy them. So you don't have to keep putting them back into the temp folder if you inadvertently clean the folder out. It will, this function will automatically copy it back in there for you when you build the case. All right, I'll use the Seagrey benchmark here to demonstrate some of the navigation features. If I navigate into the controls page here, I can now right click, bit of a delay here, can right click and select add bookmark. And so if I open up my bookmarks tab at the left there, you'll see now that there's a bookmark. If I go back out and move over to the rectifier here, and I can add another bookmark there. And so you'll see, and then I'll go back to the main page. You'll see that in the bookmark bar here, I'm now going to be able to just click these bookmarks and I can jump back and forth to the desired places in my case. Very convenient when I'm building a case and I want to jump back and forth to specific areas, or if I'm looking at meters or graphs or that sort of thing. These can be deleted, of course. You can rename them, that sort of thing. So now that I'm down here in the controls page module, a couple levels down, you can see up at the top here, there's a breadcrumb trail bar. This is navigable as well. So if I want to go up one level, I can just click on the inverter here and it will bring me up one level. If I want to go back down, I can press the down button. It will, it'll come down and you'll see the instance of the child module there. I can go back in. And we have all the other navigation stuff here, like in the secondary window and that type of thing. So I'll also use this case to show you the global substitutions. So here I am over in the global substitutions pane. From here, I have buttons to add and subtract substitutions if I like. I can copy and paste. I can save my substitutions in CSV format so that I can open them up in external programs. And I can import, if I can send those out to another program and then import them back in after they've been modified. It's a very, very nice, powerful, flexible thing. There's a great video on that on our YouTube channel that actually goes through those steps. And so have a look if you're interested. The other tab in the global substitutions pane here called All, this is the area where I have all of my sets defined. So in this particular one, I have my default set, and then I've added two different sets, test 1 and test 2. So if I go back to the active tab, if I want to switch to either of those sets, I could just go to the drop list there and switch back and forth. So as soon as I switch to that set, it will then become active after. So let's have a look at the simulation sets. In terms of the set itself, the only option that's been added here for the simulation sets in version 5 is the ability to enable and disable it. Most of the new functionality has been added to the tasks themselves. So here you can see that for this particular task, I can set the substitution set, those ones that I just showed you. I can switch them. So for this particular task, I can run this using the test 1 substitution set, and that's the one that will be active when I'm launching that case or that task. You'll see here, these are all the new parallel run options. So in version 4, I believe there was just the task count and another number for tracing rank. So now we've added some flexibility in specifying the snapshot file you want to use. It can be specified by rank number. You can enable tracing on all signals now, not just on a single one. And you can also set a maximum volley. So if I had, I have an 8-core machine, and PSCAD uses 1 core, so I can only use 7 cores at a time. If I have a 100 run parallel run, I can set the task count to 100 and the maximum volley to 7, and then it will go through those 100 tasks in volleys of 7. It's much better than doing 100 tasks on an 8-core computer. Also, as I mentioned, the parameter grid is enabled in the simulation sets and the simulation tasks. So let's have a look at that. Sorry. So if I right-click on the simulation set and go to View Parameter Grid, you'll see now that all of the simulation set parameters show up in the parameter grid. So you'll see the enable toggle. I can enable, disable simulation sets directly from here. So this is great if you have, I've seen cases that have 20, 30 simulation sets. So this is really a great way to quickly organize, quickly control the data in your simulation sets. Same thing with the simulation tasks. If we take a look at the parameter grid for the simulation tasks, we'll get all of the simulation task parameters there as well that you can modify from the parameter grid window. Also for simulation tasks, I mentioned the overrides. So if you go into the right-click menu for the simulation tasks, you can select project settings or layer overrides. This window here gives you access to all of the runtime project settings. So if I want to say override the solution time step, I can go in here, change it to override, go back to the runtime area, and now I can change this to whatever I want. So I can set that to say 100 microseconds, and that doesn't modify the project itself. It only modifies the settings that are used when the task is launched from the simulation set. So the same thing you can do with layer information. You can enable and disable layers as you're going there as well. Also, the overrides are also part of the parameter grid. So you can access all the project settings and layer settings from the parameter grid as well. Okay, so quick little feature. If you want to quickly enable and disable components without using a layer, you just simply have to right-click on them now and select enable or disable depending on its current state. So I'm going to disable that one, and boom, I'm done. So I didn't have to create a layer or anything, just disables the component for me. All right, I've already demoed the parameter grid. There's a great video online for that that shows you the different functionalities for it. But like I said, if I just quickly go over here, grab one of these power electronic switches here and view the parameter grid, you'll see that different instances have different settings, and in this case, these ones here are disabled, so it actually shows it to you. If I want to filter it just to say a single category, say main data, I can do that and filter the results. These results can be saved to and from a CSV file as well. That's all described in the video, so have a look if you're interested. Okay, the component wizard, just really quickly here. So the component wizard, now here's the environment. You start off with the graphic. This graphic can be stretched any way you want. Ports can be added, and then once they're added, they can be dragged around, moved around, all kinds of cool stuff like that. I'm going to call this one A. You now have the ability to select which segments that you want to add. In the Fortran, Distant, and DS out segments, we can even auto-generate a C, Fortran, or MATLAB interface for you as well. So say I'll go ahead and select the MATLAB interface for this one, and then create the Create button, or hit the Create button in the top right corner, and it creates the component for me. If what's great about this is now we have a recycle bin. So the recycle bin will, as soon as I go and recycle this design here, now if I want to go back to that component, I just select that and I just go back to its last state that I had it saved in. Also, what's nice about this is many of us have created a component and then thought, oh darn it, that was supposed to be a module, and then we have to go back and create it over again. No longer have to do that. If I wanted to do that in this place, I simply just have to toggle this property here, and then I can just recreate the component, and now it's a page module. If I want to go back to the other component, I can do that again because it's all in the recycle bin. Okay, and last but not least, the parameter grid. I'll use the synchronous machine here to display that. So you saw the image when I was talking about it earlier, but the category page now is in a tree view, so I can access any of these without having to click on the drop list. So it takes a click out of everything for you. If you go into the design of the component, that's where you can go and add more parameters and put them inside of other parameters and that sort of thing. The really cool thing about this is something brand new in version 5 was the dynamic help window that I was talking to you about earlier. I'm just going to go in and enable the saturation on here. Now, I have the saturation curve. And how many times have we gone in here and tried to visualize the saturation curve that we've entered in here, and we've never been able to do that? We have to take this data and put it in Excel and graph it there or whatever. Now you don't have to do that anymore. It's all graphed right in the component. So this window is based on a on some program Java that is dynamically linked to this data here. So now I can go in here and add, I can change a value to say 0.4, and you'll see it immediately change on the graph. So it's dynamically connected to the data. Now, we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg with this. We really haven't had much time to go in and actually really harness the power of this Java window yet. But nonetheless, there are a few different components in the master library already that have it already set up. One of them is the arrestor, and I know a lot of people have a lot of trouble with their arrestor input. So now you can just go ahead and look at the data right there. So now that'll help you. And even if I go and do something, silly with the data points, like turn that to 0.6 or something, now it'll tell me that my slope is wrong and I need to change that right there in the window. So another example of just the tip of the iceberg of the power that we have here. Also, a few of the protection-based components also have these windows set up here. So here we've graphed the lens characteristics. And of course, the center data is all dynamic as well. So as you adjust that, the image will adjust and everything. Okay, so that's it for the demo and the webinar. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it informative and you're going to find it useful to navigate around our new stuff. Thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate it. We're really excited about this release, and we hope to see you in the subsequent webinars that are coming up in the next 3 weeks. So if you have any questions or comments about this webinar, you can contact me personally at the support desk. But I just ask you to please use like this subject here in capital letters, PSCAD version 5 webinar. That will allow us to differentiate those from the standard support, and these will get directed straight to me, and it won't cause any type of deficiencies and that sort of thing in the